Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right, we're ranking Backrooms. Backrooms is a 2026 American science fiction psychological horror film based on the Backrooms web series created by Kane Parsons and the Backrooms creepypasta invented in 2019 from an image board on 4chan. In the film, when a man becomes obsessed with a mysterious dimension hidden beneath his furniture store, his therapist ventures into an endless maze of uncanny rooms to find him before both are lost to its horrors. This is a movie that I'm surprised ever got made. It was never on my radar, and the whole idea of the Backrooms, though I know of it, I didn't realize it would ever get so big that it would have a movie based on it. I never played any of the games. I didn't watch any of the videos really. I just kind of knew of the concept. That being said, I do think that this movie is getting a lot of hype, I think rightfully for the Cinderella story aspect of it, for the director and who he is, and just the idea of this becoming so popular from low budget films paired with obsession and doing well, which I do think is warranted, but overall I think it is being a little overhyped. It's not that great of a film, but it does have some good aspects. Let's get into why with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? I will give this movie credit for, as far as I know, the entire story of the Backrooms just stems from a photo. There really isn't an actual lore here. There isn't a reason to why the Backrooms exist or any definition to what they actually are. So given that, I would say they did a good job. They could have gone two routes. They could have gone the silly route to try to appeal people to just kind of have fun with the movie and fun with the spookiness of the Backrooms and appeal that kind of audience, or they could try and actually take it down a serious horror route. And they did try to take it serious. And for that, I will say what they did accomplish was decent. They had a decent idea here that could have been really spooky. I don't think they necessarily landed all the way. I do think it limited itself, but it just, in my opinion, was not enough. What they did, I enjoyed, but they didn't have enough substance here to fill out an entire movie, and I don't think that's because it couldn't have. I do think it could have had enough substance to really fill it out and be an entertaining, good movie, but to me, there just wasn't enough. I liked what I got, but there was a lot of times I was just wondering what was gonna happen next. And some people are going to enjoy that. They're gonna enjoy the pacing and like that it doesn't really answer a whole lot of questions. To me, I don't mind if you don't answer every question, but I really wish they would have just given you more. There's a lot of slow, drawn out shots that, to me, I was just waiting for it to go. Like, come on, next shot, next scene, let's explore more. Give me more about this world to keep me interested, because there was a certain point I just wasn't that interested. Again, it's not that they failed. They did a good job with what they had. There wasn't anything to begin with. So what they created, I enjoyed. I just wish they would have done more. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? Obviously, if you like the Backrooms, then you're probably going to like this movie. You're probably going to enjoy what it provides because it does lean into the atmosphere that made the Backrooms popular. It very much is a found footage horror movie, though the whole thing is not found footage. It is that kind of style, and honestly, when it is a found footage is when it's succeeding the most in this movie. So if you enjoy those kinds of horror movies, then you're going to like this movie. If you don't, I don't know if you're going to enjoy this movie. Like I said, it's definitely slow paced, eases you into it. I don't think it's the greatest horror in the world, so you just have to be into these kind of odd ideas that are a little slow, don't show you too much, and like to use that found footage quality. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? I definitely had a hard time with this, I will admit, but I will give this movie credit that I think there are some themes in there that maybe I just missed. It gives you a lot to think about. It gives you some details to kind of put together the purpose of the Backrooms and why it exists, how it functions, what does it mean, what do the characters mean. There is some meaning to be had there. I just had a hard time figuring out what any of it really meant. It didn't come together into this concrete idea for me. There were some aspects that I understood, but they don't necessarily pertain to any sort of theme that I could think of. So please, if you figured out a theme, if you thought this is what the movie was going for, please let me know down below. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? I actually thought the dialogue of this movie was pretty good. When characters are talking, it's interesting. It's interesting as far as the characters go, and it's interesting to the world and the setting and everything that's going on. So when characters are talking, I thought it was interesting, but overall, they just don't talk that much. I would be really curious to know how long of this movie is just silent. There's nothing going on, or you're hearing footsteps or something. It definitely felt like a majority of this movie was silent, but when characters are talking, it is well done. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? Now I'll talk about my main man. Definitely going to absolutely butcher this name. Chiwetel Ejiofor. Don't know if that's how you say it, but he plays the main character of Clark. Really well done. I mean, all the emotional scenes, he does a really good job of just making them feel natural, making it feel like this guy really does have an anger issue, especially his monologue towards the end. He does a good job of conveying just kind of losing his mind. There's a lot of times, whenever he is doing something and has a lot of dialogue and can convey this emotion, he really does a good job of selling it. I honestly thought his acting was actually higher than what the movie was providing. Like I said, I thought the plot was kind of shallow, but I thought whenever he was on screen, he just elevated it. He made even kind of the shallow plot seem better than it really is, just because his acting was so well done. Six is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? This, to me, is where the movie succeeded the most. It was really well done. It definitely captures the look of the Backrooms. They did a good job with that, making it feel like a maze, feeling endless, having these really odd shapes. All the set building done for this movie was really impressive. I enjoyed it. It definitely captured the feeling that you needed for this kind of movie, especially with the found footage scenes. Those are probably some of the best work of the entire movie, just because to me, that's the raw feeling of what the Backrooms is supposed to feel like. And it's that fear of running with this, and you can't see much, the quality's not that great, but it's just spooky enough and weird enough to really feel creepy. And they do a great job in this movie with those moments. The part that I didn't love is the actual showing of the monster. Now, I don't know if technically the ending monster is the one that's supposed to be throughout the whole thing, or if that's a different monster and there's a couple in there. Not really sure. I thought it was underwhelming. I just wish they would have chose something scarier. I wish they would have had a moment in which I felt more scared. That's probably one of my bigger issues with this movie, is that they did such a good job setting up this really interesting, scary setting that is so odd, but then I never really felt scared. There were moments that I felt on edge, maybe just kind of uneasy, like, ooh, this is odd, I would hate to be here, but I never was actually scared. And to me, this place definitely could have easily been scary. They just didn't do enough. I really wish, in my mind, I see them having a scene where you're coming in with this police squadron or something. You know, you just give the monster some fodder. Just send a police squad in there. They don't know what's going on. They kind of get lost and separated because it's a maze and this is a weird place. And have that monster, you know, give me a little bit of gore. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but give me something. Give me a memorable moment that's really, really scary. That's what this movie was lacking. It didn't have a memorable moment where I was like, wow, that was really scary. It had one or two moments to point out and be like, those were obviously the climax of action in this movie, but they weren't memorable. I'm not gonna talk about them all the time. I wish this movie would have had that. It would have elevated it to me to have more emotion in it, to have me feel scared, to have me just have these memorable moments of emotion, and they just didn't really have it. It was kind of disappointing. So they really did a great job with the setting, but emotionally kind of dropped the ball for me. Seventh is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is an hour and 45 minutes. Like I said earlier, I just didn't think it had enough to be an hour 45. I actually think if this movie was maybe an hour 20, it would have been better, even though it didn't have all the things that I wanted out of it. It could have done better. There are a lot of shots in this movie that are just long. They're slow, where you're watching every single step of the character, and it's like, I didn't need to see every step. And there's quite a few, and honestly, it felt like they just didn't have enough. They drew out these scenes to try and fill the time. I wish they wouldn't have. I wish they just would have committed to saying, hey, this isn't gonna be the longest movie in the world because there's not that much to be told, but we have enough to tell for over an hour. I think they could have done that pretty easily. It's definitely too long at an hour 45. I wish it would have been something like an hour 20 or less. Eighth is soundtrack. I will say to some, the soundtrack might be creepy. I didn't find it necessarily all that creepy. In fact, some of the music in it I found annoying. I didn't like it. I was ready for it to end, and not in a good way, not in a like spooky, scary way. It just was annoying. I didn't really like it. Some people could like it, but I personally did not. Ninth is directing. Now I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it the stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. Now the director of this movie is Kane Parsons, and this is his first movie. Another case of a YouTuber who has come to make their first movie a lot like Obsession, a lot like a couple movies that have been coming out recently. And I gotta say, for all of my critiques of this movie, it's just because I thought it could have been better, but really, considering the situation, it's a great movie. He did a great job with what he had. I'm sure he was a little worried about taking big risks because this was a big moment for him. To be able to come from making the story and having a successful series on YouTube about the Backrooms to making an official movie that's going to be out in theaters nationwide, I can't imagine being under that kind of pressure. I think under that pressure, he did a really, really good job. There's a lot of great things here. I mean, you're in an industry that has predominantly been, you have to know somebody. It's not necessarily talent. Talent will rise to the top in some instances, but sometimes it won't. You got to know the right people. So this guy is obviously talented, right? First movie is a lot better than a lot of movies I've watched from people who are seasoned directors who have just made a bunch of trash. This isn't trash. Is it the best in the world? No, it's definitely not the best in the world, but it was never supposed to be, right? That's high expectations. I think with the idea of what this is, where it came from, who's directing it, the experience there, the budget there, this is a really good movie. I give him a lot of credit. I hope that now that he has made his return on investment, I hope to see him make another one, maybe a different movie, maybe a second Backrooms, and see him take some more chances here. I want to see him just be even more creative. He's obviously creative. He has a vision. He knows where he wants to go. And so now that he's had a return on investment, I want to see them let go of the leash a little bit. Let him do what he wants and not be so worried about a return. That would be really, really interesting. So I look forward to seeing what else he directs. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? I don't necessarily think so. I think it is kind of a momentary thing just because of the popularity of the Backrooms. If you didn't really know any of it and you just saw this movie in isolation, again, I think most people would say, yeah, it's not bad. And that's about it. It's not a movie, like I said, it's missing those memorable parts about it. It's not memorable to me. The idea is a good idea that could easily lend to memorable moments, but they just didn't happen in this movie. So I really don't think anyone will remember much about this movie in the coming years, other than the fact that it was paired with Obsession and they both kind of got success, kind of like a Barbie Oppenheimer situation with 2 movies at once gaining success. But in all honesty, over time, I think this movie will be forgotten about. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it an 89. The audience gives it a 74. And IMDb gives it a 71. In all honesty, I think 74 is probably where I land. I think if I wanted to be lenient and kind of factor in the whole situation, I'd probably put it at a high C, maybe a low B. It just is a good movie in all the ways that it needed to be. It's decent, but it's just not memorable. It doesn't do anything amazing. The only thing I really liked was it had moments of amazing acting, but you could tell that the plot, I don't think really was the reason for that. You just picked a really good person to play a role and gave him just two or three moments to really show that. Or cinematography, they did a good job with the setting. It looks great and it gives you the feeling you want to feel, but just not the horror aspect. So with as much as I love, there's things I critique. So I think this definitely lies in a C kind of movie. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2026 on the entertainment side, out of 5 total movies, it is going to be second, just below Obsession and above The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's there, honestly, for the tier system more than anything, not necessarily my opinion. I have it below Obsession. Pretty easy for me. I would definitely watch Obsession first. It's a better movie. I'd rather watch it, and I do think that audiences are going to enjoy that movie more. I think it has better tense scenes that are more memorable. I would definitely show people Obsession before I did Backrooms. It is above The Mandalorian and Grogu. Personally, would probably put The Mandalorian above, but they just are in two different tiers. People who wanted to watch the Backrooms liked it, and people who wanted to watch The Mandalorian and Grogu liked it, but not as much. That's kind of why I changed things up on the tier, giving it that tier system, because obviously people enjoyed it. I may have liked The Mandalorian better, but people who wanted to watch Backrooms obviously had a good time with it. Cinematically, out of 5 total movies, it is going to be 5th, just below The Mandalorian and Grogu. This really isn't a jab at this movie. The 4 movies that I've reviewed so far in 2026 were surprisingly all pretty solid movies cinematically. They're pretty well done for the audiences they're going for. That being said, I have it below The Mandalorian because they both do amazing things cinematically. They both lack on the emotion size of cinematography, but I just have to punish the Backrooms for plot for me. Though The Mandalorian and Grogu may be writing off the fact that it is Star Wars and it has this huge world and all this creativity in it, it exists. You can't help it exists. It's part of that world, so it gets to, benefit off of some of those things, and it uses it to its advantage. Where the Backrooms to me was just lacking some things. It had some cool ideas, but not fleshed out enough. I just think The Mandalorian represents film better because they kind of execute on the same level of just like being a decent movie for what they were going for, but then The Mandalorian is just way more creative. Now, entertainment-wise, for the decade of the 2020s, out of 75 total movies, it is going to be 36, just below The Bad Guys 2 and above Nosferatu. I have it below The Bad Guys 2. I think The Bad Guys 2 is a better watch for most people. They are in the same tier as far as how much people enjoyed them who wanted to watch these movies. So they're on that same level, but to me, Backrooms is a little more serious, supposed to be a little more horror-esque. I think people are going to be a little more entertained by something cartoony and childish like The Bad Guys 2 than The Backrooms. Now, I do have it above Nosferatu. I think these have two different... They're also serious, but I think Backrooms is somewhat less serious than Nosferatu, and I just personally enjoyed Backrooms more than Nosferatu. Nosferatu I didn't enjoy at all. The only reason it's this high is because of that tier system I ranked. So that one I did place more on a personal bias. Cinematically, out of 75 total movies, it is going to be 51st, just below Last Breath and above The Damned. I got it below Last Breath. Again, just quality movies that I'm like, yeah, these aren't bad, but to me, Last Breath at least had some emotional tie-in there. It's a cool story because it's a true story. There's just some things that I think make it last and make it feel a little bit more impactful overall as an art form. I do have it above The Damned. I just think it's a little more creative than The Damned. The Damned had really good cinematic aspects. Like, it had some cool shots, it had some great music to it, but then the whole last half of that movie just turns into a really bad horror movie. And The Backrooms, I think, is just a little more creative and kind of has a consistent feel throughout the whole thing rather than turning disappointing. It just never really ramps up when you want it to, but it doesn't dive bomb, and it's just awful. Now, all time, out of 93 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 52nd, just below The Bad Guys 2 and above Nosferatu. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. Cinematically, out of 93 total movies, it is going to be 68th, just below Last Breath and above The Damned. That's all I've got for The Backrooms. I was a little disappointed. I was hoping the movie was going to bring a little bit more, but like I said, with the circumstances of how the movie was made, the budget, the director, I think it's a good movie. It's a solid movie. I think it's worth going to the theater to support somebody like this, somebody who took a chance from being a YouTuber to becoming a director, and you should reward the movie company and reward that director for doing a good job. I just think it's worth it. This is the trend that movies need to go because it's great. It's just bringing creativity back and people who are actually committed to making good movies rather than just pouring out slop. So I like to give it that credit, even though I didn't love everything about it. It just has a lot of things to give it credit for, especially the situation, but also the substance of the movie has some decent parts. If you really liked it or disagreed with me on anything, please let me know down below. I really love enjoying hearing what you guys thought of the movie. Were you disappointed, or did you think it was better? Did you feel like I was missing a lot of things? Because, I kind of went away from this movie thinking, I don't know, maybe I didn't get everything. Maybe there's some things I missed while watching that movie, because there is a lot of going on, and I feel like your eyes are drawn to certain things, but there might be things going on in the background. Maybe I would figure that out with a second watch. Otherwise, please comment a movie you want me to review, and I will tag you when I review it. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.